All right. I hope you all can see me and that you can hear me. This is the 6th time that I have done my, started this live today. That means something important's about to come out. When I have this many technical difficulties, there's something important. Subject matter today is grief. What do you say? What do you not say? Are you awkward when somebody is in grief? Do you avoid them so that you don't say anything to them? Like, what goes on? Welcome. I'm Ann Ferguson. This is Leaning In with Ann. And this is a walk and talk that I do during the day, weekday mornings. I'm a little discombobulated because of all the technical difficulties today, but you guys can hear me and we're good. I am a communication specialist, relationship communication specialist. It's relationships with you, with God, with others. I'm a mindset trainer. Sometimes our mind and the way we're thinking about things isn't quite straight. So I help shift those things, and I'm a personal mentor. So good morning. I want to kind of go over different places that we grieve. I know that I grieved children as they left the home. That empty nesting is like, I don't even know who I am if I'm not chasing little ones around or driving big ones around or stressing about when they're coming home and did I get this done for them or not. Like when that left, there was definitely a grief that was around. Divorce, huge grief. Loss of someone, whether it's divorce or death. Moving. I've had to leave people. It's always about letting go of some form of connection that I had. Even if it's unhealthy connection, there is grief when we separate from that. This is what I believe. I believe that energetically, that when we get into a relationship with somebody, we're actually kind of tied into them, into their energy, right? Can you do that where you sense somebody that you're in a relationship with? You can kind of sense who they are and what they're experiencing, and even though you're not near them. I know that when Tom is traveling, I still feel very connected to him even though he's not around. If we fought, I can still feel the anger. Not the anger, but the disconnect. I can feel the disconnect and I don't like the disconnect, so I go back in for connection. I think God did that on purpose, right? We're supposed to be connected to each other, and when we're disconnected, it feels odd. So there's different things to say and not say. We talk about validation a lot. I talked about the you can do it validation, right? A little bit ago. You can do it, Grandma Ann. You can do it. That validation that I had the power to do it, the big thing I was working on, was just vital for me. But when there's grief, you can get over this, is not the thing to say. It's going to be all right in the end. It's not the thing to say initially. You're going to be better off. And sometimes even when we say, God is in this, sometimes that's like, yeah, but it doesn't feel like it because it hurts so bad. It just hurts. God's supposed to be loving, and he could have prevented this, so this just hurts. What do you mean God's in this? That can get really confusing. We have a bully. There's an enemy that causes the disconnection in the first place and then helps us blame God when the disconnections happen. So like, for instance, if there is a relationship, romantic relationship, that is nasty and bad, the things that caused all of the disconnection was the bully getting involved, telling you certain things about your spouse, telling your spouse certain things about you, or a child about you. And then, once you're totally disconnected, because there's been a creation of that, then there's the you suck as a human because you're disconnected. You should have done this, you should have done that. If only you had been, and all of these other voices come up. I just want you to hear what a great big huge bully this guy is. He's horrible. He's a horrible bully. I've had to do the whole divorce thing, you know, and The day that I signed papers, I thought that, yay, it's finally over. It had been a long, long process. And I thought it was going to be, oh, finally, it's just over, and I'm relieved, and I'm so grateful, and yay. And it wasn't that at all. I was so sad. And happy, and sad, and weird. And it felt weird to just, after 17 years, have that be dissolved. Like, it was just weird. And I wasn't doing it wrong for it to be weird. And there were people who wanted to celebrate with me because they had stood with me through the yuck. And I didn't want to celebrate. I didn't know what to do. So, in situations like that, rather than, oh, you'll get over it in a few days, you'll be fine, this is best for you, I encourage you to just not do that. I encourage you to just sit with them. Just sit. And you don't have to take on their grief. You don't have to feel the grief as well, but to understand what's happening right there is the dissolution of a dream. And the fact that it's okay to grieve and to be sad and confused and upset when what you thought was supposed to happen doesn't happen. Part of my sadness was the 20-year-old who had a great big dress and a great big wedding, had all these dreams and hopes, and I projected into what my future was going to look like with my family and my husband. I did that with my kids. What does it look like to have adult children and grandchildren all over the place, making cookies with them, and it hasn't turned out that way. The pain of the divorce has caused a lot of things, including my pain and the way I reacted to my children, and some of the mistakes I made that wounded them is real in this life. And so what I really needed and wanted at that point is somebody to just go, you know what, it's really sad that the dreams you had aren't coming true, like the things you worked for and you thought was going to be aren't. That's just really sad. And I grieved, people didn't understand this, for the 22-year-old who married me, because he had dreams, visions, what it was going to look like. We had these vague pictures in our head, and I grieved him. I grieved the 22-year-old. And so to sit with somebody and say, oh, I know this isn't what you planned. And it's really, really hard when you come smack up against the fact that what you planned didn't happen. Same thing with a death, right? This isn't how you planned it to go. Got a friend who, she gave birth to their 6th child, I think, and 2 weeks later, or 3 weeks later, her husband died of cancer. That wasn't in the plan. And the letting go of the plan is rough. One of the things that we do is we want to jump over the grief. We want people to get over it because we have the belief that I'm supposed to feel with you in order to bear your burdens. And I don't want to have that level of grief. So I'm just going to tell you to get over it as quick as possible. That's going to be helpful to me. It's not helpful to you, but it's helpful to me to get over it as soon as possible. Right? So knowing that it's okay and really important for somebody to sit in the grief, and it's okay for them to be sad as they disentangle the energy, is step one. Just take some deep breaths. And this is what I encourage you to do. That is witness. Witness them grieving. What does it look like when their heart is broken? What does that humanity look like it's actually really beautiful to see somebody be really open, authentic, and grieving. And the biggest thing is to say this. I've said it before in different videos, but I want you to know one of the most important things to say to somebody grieving is, I don't even know what to say right now. I see you. I see your pain. I'm so sorry for your pain. Do you have any requests of me that would feel really supportive of you right now? And then you sit back and you let them contemplate what that might be. Because I can go, okay, to make them feel better, I'm going to go do this and this and this and this, and that may not be what they need. So to just say, do you have any requests of me that would feel really supportive? I was so grateful to my friend who said, I just need to go to sleep right now. You can send a polo. I was so grateful to know what would be helpful to her. When my mom died, one of the most profound things that somebody said to me is, I'm so sorry, I know this is rough. When you are ready, I would love to hear about your mom and how awesome she was. Because she produced a pretty awesome daughter. She must have been pretty cool. Just knowing that somebody was willing to let me talk about my mom and who she'd been and how her life had impacted mine was really, really profound for me. It felt more supportive than the other things that people said. Grief is universal. If you jump away from it and don't feel it, you're going to get stuck. So if you tell people to jump over it so that you don't have to witness their grief because it makes you uncomfortable, you're actually helping them be stuck. And there's a difference between isolation and not letting people see things and kind of a retreating into a cocoon, if you will. When you get run over by a truck, which is sometimes what grief feels like, you go to the hospital. And sometimes it's even ICU. And there's very limited people that get to visit you in ICU. And there are experts that come in and take care of the things that you need physically, you know, if you've gotten run over by a truck. So it's okay to isolate a little bit and say, I'm wounded and I can only take one visitor at a time while I'm in ICU. Check in with you. There's no right way or wrong way to do grief. There's only what you need in every single moment. So you have the right, if you're grieving, to check in and go, right now, I would really like somebody to come over and just watch a sad movie and cry with me. I don't want to talk about what happened. I just want somebody to sit here with me. Or I need some distraction. I'd really like somebody to take me out and get me distracted. I'm going to go back into the grief. It's going to come back up. The wave is going to come forward again. I know it. But right now I need to be distracted. And then 5 minutes later, it could be, actually, I don't want to be distracted by someone. I just want to go to sleep. Like, I want to shut down all consciousness for a little bit. It's called radical self-care. When you are in a moment of deep grief and you're letting things go. And this is what I mean by letting things go. You're not going, and that didn't happen and it doesn't affect me. I do not believe in that. I believe that it's putting it into its proper time zone, if you will. Like, I've got a friend that's in Australia right now, and I will tell you she's doing things that are very different than what I'm doing. Just because the world is different where she is, and the world is different than me, and we're on the same planet, but we're in different time zones, so we do different things. So sometimes the letting go feels, no, I don't want to let go of that. Like, that's a part of me. I can't let go. What do you mean let go? No, just go, I am going to put that in the time zone in which it exists. And if I ever need to visit that time zone, I can. But right now I'm in this time zone, so I've got to kind of be moving within this time zone. I haven't actually given it up, but I'm not walking through it. One of the things that happens with grief is if we don't feel it, then all of the grief, all of the things that happened is right in front of you. And it's like every other situation, you have to wade through it in order to get past it. And grief and the events can be moved to the side. You can walk with your grief side by side, but not through it. When you walk through it, it's like everything is triggering you and you're believing that you've got to protect yourself from the grief. And so you're not even seeing the other side. And the people that are on the other side, they're like, I don't know what's going on. Like she's acting as though I'm the enemy or that this bad thing is going to happen again. That's the letting go. When people talk about letting go, that's it. It's just kind of moving it to the side. I know that there are times where I have what's called put it behind me. And I've literally just asked the Lord that, can we put the memories, instead of the memories being right in front of me, can we put the memories actually behind me? Not forgotten, just behind me, so that I can step forward into the future with clarity. And those things that I need to remember, because somehow they're going to help me if I remember that this thing happened. Could you keep those things close? And Father, Christ Jesus, can you take everything about this situation that is not good for me to remember? Can you remove it from my memory? I believe that there's going to be a time, guys, where we have a life review with our God. And those memories that we were not able to handle in the moment, that we can actually sit with Christ, look at him. He'll show us all the things that happened and played into the events. He'll show you all the places that he was there, all the places where the bully was there, both for you and other people. And he'll say, hey, can we heal this now? I would love to help you be whole in this. But you don't have to do all of that while you're here on the earth. There are some things that only he can take, and he can take when it's time to take them. So as you talk to friends who are in grief, witness how rough it is. I see you. I'm so sorry that this is what's going on for you. I'm so sorry. Is there any request you have of me that would feel really supportive of you? If they can't reach it, just say, let me know. By the way, don't say if there's anything you need. And the reason is because we have been trained not to be needy. We've been trained to be self-reliant. So if you say the word need, it actually triggers a superhero kind of reaction. No, I'll be okay, I'm fine. That's different than the I just want to be alone and nurture myself kind of a feeling. It's the I'm fine, I don't need anybody, I don't want to burden you, I don't want to drop all of this on you so that you feel what I'm feeling. That's also coming from that misunderstanding that we can make people feel, or that we are supposed to feel somebody else's feelings to help them. So this might have been a little disjointed today. I hope it helps someone. When there's a death, open up the opportunity to talk. They can talk about the event, on how the death happened, which is helpful, but also tell me more about this person. Tell me more about how they impacted your life. I would love to hear all about them. Talking about all the good stuff is very, very healing when they're ready. And if it's something who's going through somebody, especially if it's like an emotionally abusive situation, and they're separating from that you deserve better than this. They're such jerks. there's a place where that's important to help the fight so that they can move on. But when the actual separation happens, it's the sadness and the, I'm just right here as you experience this separation. There's appropriate time for celebration in being away from emotionally abusive situations, and there is a time where there's no celebration. It sucks that things did not turn out as you had planned. We never go into a situation where we're saying, oh, I hope what ends is I'm emotionally abused. So it's the holding of their dreams and their visions that are lost that's really important. My friend who's grieving was so beautiful this morning. She went to watch the sunrise and connected with God this morning. And honestly, best thing she could have done, find some place of connection and remembering that God was in charge. She knows him. She knows that he's in charge. She knows that there's a plan and all the things. And so she connected to beauty so that she didn't get so sunk down. She's taken the Joyful Heart and the Igniting Your Belief class. There's a practice that we do every day where we find a moment of joy. And that is something that's really happy, something that's lovely, something that's enjoyable. And taking the time to take that deep breath and witness the fact that you're happy or that this is lovely in the moment can help you not be sunk by the waves of despair, that it keeps you in a kind of a buoy situation. And I loved it. That's what she did. She went, and although the grief is going to be very, very present for her today, she went and said, hey God, I just need a moment where my spirit is lifted high. Whew. Stand with me today while I process and walk through this grief. I know, Christ, that you are acquainted with grief. It's interesting that that's what's said in the scriptures. He was acquainted with the grief. So, if you're grieving, be kind to yourself. Radical self-care. Find your moments of joy. Find your moments of self-nurture. Find your moments of connection. Find your moments of disconnection. And make it all right. Nothing's wrong with how you grieve.